The muffled rumble of passing cars, the slight smell of gasoline, an ordinary weekday at a gas station that nestled on the very outskirts of a small town. Nothing unusual, just a few visitors, each busy with his own business. And here, among this usual bustle, stands out she, Anna. Pregnant, tired, with slight anxiety in her eyes, she is trying to refuel her old car. It seems to be a simple task, but even it seems to be given to her with difficulty. As if to spite her, the gun keeps trying to slip out of her hands, and the gas tank cap won't budge. And then, as if from another world, the Tesla electric car, shiny and silent, like a guest from the future, enters the sight. At the wheel, Elon Musk. Dressed simply, in jeans and a t-shirt, he tries not to attract too much attention. But is it possible to hide such a person? Whispers of recognition run through the gas station. People cast glances, some with curiosity, some with awe. It's amusing to see how his appearance, so unusual in this place, is out of the ordinary. Anna, meanwhile, is still struggling with the gas station. Finally, she seems to have managed it, but here's a new nuisance. The terminal refuses to accept her card. Several attempts are made, but to no avail. The anxiety in her eyes intensifies. She is clearly confused. The line behind her starts to get nervous, some grumbling, some shaking their heads. Elon, observing this scene, frowns slightly. The intrusive stares are clearly not to his liking, but something else seems to hit him, something besides irritation. So, Anna turns to the gas station operator, a young man with an indifferent look. She explains her situation, hoping for help, but the man only shrugs. The card doesn't work. Not my problem, he says, suggesting she leave the car until she resolves her financial troubles. There's not an ounce of sympathy in his voice. Anna, desperate, can barely hold back her tears. Her situation, her vulnerability, becomes obvious to everyone. The indifference of others hits her like a cold wind. And in this atmosphere of hopelessness, something more than mere curiosity seemed to flicker in Elon's eyes. His gaze was different now. But what exactly was he up to? That remained a mystery until time dragged on like a viscous syrup. Anna, pale with fatigue, tried again and again to cope with the payment terminal, but in vain. The card was stubbornly unreadable, and there seemed to be no strength left to fight the technology. A small queue had already gathered behind her, and the grumbling was getting louder and louder. Some of them were hurriedly looking at their watches, frankly showing their irritation. Elon Musk, who was watching the scene from behind the tinted window of his car, frowned for a moment. Something resembling mild discontent flashed in his gaze, but then, as if through a haze, something else emerged, either sympathy or understanding. He watched as Anna turned to the gas station operator, a young man with a visibly tired look. The man, without raising his eyes from his phone, brushed her problem aside indifferently. "Well, it doesn't work. Leave the car then. You'll figure it out somehow," he threw, not even bothering to look Anna in the eye. "But how am I going to get there? I mean, I can't leave her here," Anna whispered, her voice shaking. There was despair in it, the same despair that was so common in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, but so rarely noticed by anyone. "That's not my problem," the operator cut off, turning back to his phone screen. Anna, holding back tears, lowered her head. Her situation was obvious. A pregnant woman stranded at a gas station, with no money and no help. The indifference of those around her seemed to thicken around her like a gray fog. Elon Musk continued to watch, and something seemed to change in the expression on his face. It was all so ordinary, so mundane, and, at the same time, so wrong. The picture at the gas station, this little drama unfolding in the rays of the departing sun, made one think of many things. But few people were willing to take a step to make a change. And here, it seemed, something more was about to happen, something that would go beyond the ordinary. And then, just when things seemed to have reached a dead end, When Anna's despair seemed to have reached its peak, something completely unexpected happened. Elon Musk, who until that moment had just been watching what was going on, seemed to thaw. He leisurely approached Anna. His movements were calm, confident, but there was no shadow of arrogance in them. "Allow me," he said, his voice sounding soft, not at all like his public appearances. He offered to pay for her gas. The silence that hung in the air was deafening. People froze, some stopped pumping their tires, some put their phones away. No one had expected such a turn of events. "Everything okay?" Elon asked, turning to Anna. His eyes read genuine concern. Anna, embarrassed and surprised, mumbled something inaudible, but agreed to his help. She was stunned. It wasn't every day a billionaire offered to help you at a gas station. But that was just the beginning. Elon didn't just pay for the gas. He noticed her pale face and tired look. "You don't look well," he said, his gaze even more attentive. "Maybe you need help with your car?" Anna was even more confused. She admitted that she wasn't feeling well, and there was no money for a cab. And that's when Elon Musk, the very same Elon Musk, did something no one could have foreseen. He offered to drive her to the hospital. The people around him were petrified as they watched the scene. A man known for his ambitious projects, for his space flights, suddenly showed such humanity, such concern. It was so out of his usual image that it seemed surreal. On people's faces, one could read bewilderment mixed with admiration. It was a moment that made everyone think not only about Elon Musk, but also about themselves, about how often we pass by other people's misfortune, immersed in our own affairs, and that even the busiest and seemingly distant from everyday problems people can be close by and lend a helping hand when it is really necessary. A simple act of kindness, like a ray of light, pierced the gray ordinariness of this place. But how did this unexpected twist affect the events that followed? And so, like a shot from a movie, Elon helps Anna settle into the spacious interior of his snow-white Tesla. The doors close silently, and the car, smoothly moving, takes them away from the gas station, leaving behind astonished looks and the quiet hum of conversations. The frozen figures at the gas stations, like in a silent movie, stare at the departing car. Someone, blinking confusedly, looks at his neighbor, trying to understand what just happened. Another, grabbing his cell phone, hurriedly points his camera, trying to capture a moment that seems about to disappear like a mirage. And over there, two men leaning against the hood of their car argue animatedly, gesticulating. "Wow, Musk himself. And how did he just help so easily?" says one, while the other, shaking his head, argues, "Yeah, but he's a billionaire. Why would he do that? Probably some kind of PR." The gas station operator, the one who had so indifferently brushed Anna aside, now stands with his shoulders slumped, as if suddenly aged. His eyes read not only surprise, but something akin to regret. He looks at the empty spot at the gas station where Anna and her old car had just been standing and shakes his head slowly, as if replaying the events of the last few minutes in his head. The silence at the gas station, broken only by whispered conversations, seems to have thickened, as if the air has grown heavier. One simple act of kindness shown by an unexpected person had suddenly changed the atmosphere, filling it with a mixture of surprise, admiration, and seemingly slight shame. An unspoken thought hung in the air. What would I have done in his place? And how often do we pass by someone else's misfortune without noticing it, immersed in our own problems? This small, seemingly insignificant episode made everyone stop and think about something important. Humanity. About compassion. About how even the busiest and most successful people can find time to show kindness. And about the impact that one single act of kindness can have. But that was just one episode, and the story has other, equally important twists and turns. A few days later, a quiet story from a gas station burst onto the pages of local newspapers. "Billionaire Elon Musk helps pregnant woman," screamed the headlines, and the news swept through town like a warm wave. Instead of the expected discussions of technology and spaceflight, people were talking about kindness, about humanity, about how one seemingly small act can light a flame of compassion in others. Soon, other stories began to appear. Here, a young man helped an elderly neighbor carry heavy bags simply because he remembered an incident at a gas station. In another neighborhood, a cashier at a store, usually tired and indifferent, suddenly smiled at a customer and offered to help her pack her purchases. It was as if someone had flipped a switch with an invisible hand, and something good had awakened in people that was probably slumbering somewhere deep. And what about Anna? She gave birth safely to a healthy baby boy. Her life, not long ago full of anxiety and uncertainty, now shone with hope. Elon Musk, the man whose name was associated with distant planets, was closer than anyone had realized. She often looked at the picture printed in the newspaper where he, reserved and a little aloof, seemed as ordinary a man as any other. And every time she looked at that photo, she smiled, remembering his calmness and kindness. His help was not just an act of generosity, but also a reminder that there is a place in the world for compassion and mutual aid. No matter how much money you have or what position you hold in society, it is important to be a person who can see someone else's distress and lend a helping hand. This story was a small but important reminder that kindness is not just a beautiful word, but a real force that can change someone's life for the better. After all, sometimes all it takes to make a miracle is to be attentive. And this story, which illuminated a small town, made many people think about how often we pass by without noticing those who need support. But perhaps there is another facet to